Namaste everyone. We are back for our session number 3, day 4, week 2 of our summer program being organized by Summer Program 2021, being organized by Hindu Heritage Foundation of America. I am Kavita Vachaknavee, coordinator, host, and director for this summer program. And we are here to welcome Shri Jethinder Abbi ji. He was here with us last week, and he was sharing his life and how this whole transformation took place when he came into contact with our vast literature and so many things. And he was talking about Upanishad last week. He is here to talk about Upanishad this week, today, now. So we welcome Jethinder Abbi ji to our wonderful session. This is going to be another amazing session with all of you, and hope you will enjoy and keep sharing it with others. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Abbi ji, you are welcome to continue, please.
Namaste, everyone. Thank you once again for giving me this opportunity to present to you what I've learned over the recent past. Last week, you all had the opportunity to listen to Dr. Harishchandra ji, Acharya Harishchandra ji. He spoke about the Vedas and Upanishads. He also highlighted the timeline as to when the Vedas were put together, and then the time from the time when Vedas came out or were really transmitted Shruti from person to person to the time of the Upanishads. If I recall correctly, there was a big lag of time of almost 1 million years when people realized that it was difficult for them to remember this vast resource of knowledge, and they wanted to get the summary of it, the essence of it, and that's how the Upanishads came into being. Last week, I had the privilege of sharing with you my transformation. While I was growing up in India, we went to each and every temple, and we saw divinity in everything, to the extent that it became very difficult to see what was not divine. So after coming to the US, I had the opportunity to get involved with the Arya Samaj of Suburban, New York. And Arya Samaj of Suburban, New York gave me a focus in the sense that I wanted to belong to a Dharma that can withstand the test of time, that can withstand the argument of logic, and it has to be universally applicable. If it's regardless of what religion you belong to or what region of the world you belong to. So Dharma is universal, and it is like the sun rising in the east. It is relevant no matter what part of the world you're in. So also the Vedic Dharma is universal in the sense that it is relevant to all living beings. It has a universal appeal, and it transcends all barriers regardless of religion, country, place of origin, etc. And we covered Ishopanishad, and Ishopanishad, broadly speaking, covered three areas. If you look at our Dharma, you can actually summarize it in three words. The three words are Gyan, Karma, and Upasana. So Ishopanishad gave you a flavor of Gyan, gave you a flavor of Karma, and gave you a flavor of Upasana. Now what we're going to discuss is going to be Kan Upanishad. Kan Upanishad, Ishopanishad comes from the Yajurveda. The focus of Yajurveda is Karma, but the Upanishad itself gave us a flavor of Gyan, Karma, and Upasana. Kan Upanishad comes from Samved, and Samved focuses on Upasana. What is Upasana? Upasana is made out of two words. It's Up and Asan. Up means sitting close to. Asan means is sitting. Up is close to. So we are sitting close to divinity, and the feeling is as if we are sitting in God's lap. That is the experience that you get when you're doing Upasana. When you were a kid, you remember after you played, whether if you remember when you were a few months old, you would play around for a certain amount of time, and whenever you got tired and you wanted to feel secure, you kind of crawled back into your mom's lap and sat there, because you felt very secure in that position. So Upasana essentially emulates that. It actually gives you that feeling. When we are born, we learn a lot of things looking at our parents. That is the Gyan that we get. That is the knowledge that we get right from the time we are born. We learn the art of eating and talking and everything, looking at our parents or our siblings. And then once we grow up a little bit, we have a one-on-one time or a family time when we sit together on a dinner table and share each other's thoughts, So your parents share their day with you, and you end up sharing your observations, what you have done, or how your school went, and things like that. So this is like a one-on-one exchange of thoughts as to how your day went. That is Upasana, where you're actually exchanging the events that happened in the course of the day with your family. As you become a little bit older, you get busy with your school work, and Upasana becomes more and more less frequent. You won't get a chance to actually sit with your parents. But as you get older, you realize that that Upasana part is missing. Although you're getting the Gyan and using that Gyan, you're doing the Karma, but Upasana is missing. So at some stage in life, you begin to realize that, I need to connect. If my parents are not available, maybe I need to sit in for a few minutes by myself and kind of meditate and connect with God, so that I can tell God how my day went and God can listen to me. There was a beautiful movie called Oh God. I'm not sure if you had a chance to see it. It had this very senior actor called George Burns. Somehow, we have actually created an image of God to be a magician. So in that movie, George Burns, who's actually playing the role of God, dispels that notion. As we have a wrong notion about God. We think that God means he can do many card tricks, or can do a lot of these, can pull a rabbit out of a hat and things like that. So those notions are really wrong. And towards the end of the movie, I forget the name of the actor who played opposite to George Burns. He says, God, it is time for us to say goodbye. Occasionally, I would want to actually talk to you. So how do I go about connecting with you? So George Burns, who was playing God, he says, you talk and I will listen. So remember this, you talk and I will listen. So this is what Upasana is. When you want to connect with God, you find a quiet place, you close your eyes and you open up your heart and talk to God, and remember that God is listening to you. Okay, let's get to our topic. So we had discussed that there are 4 Vedas. The first Veda is Rig Veda. The topic of the Rig Veda was Vigyan or Vishesh Gyan, but not science. Yajurved was Karma, Samved is Upasana, and Atharved is Gyan. Ishopanishad that I touched upon a few of the mantras during my last presentation. It was the 40th chapter of the Yajurveda. Ken Upanishad comes from Samved. Now, since Samved is basically drenched in Upasana, when we get done with the Ken Upanishad, you will have an idea as to what Upasana is. It will give you a perspective as to who God is and how to connect with God. You will come to know. You will begin to realize what are the advantages of realizing God in this life, and what are the disadvantages suppose we miss out on the opportunity of realizing God in this life, So that is what we are going to realize, what we're going to understand in the Ken Upanishad. The only thing unique about the Ken Upanishad is the language is very paradoxical. Paradoxical means at times it's contradictory, it is confusing, it is very thought-provoking. So you need to take this language with a grain of salt. Many of you probably think of age-old schools or gurukuls where maybe people have a misconception that the teachers were not open for dialogue with the students. So the teacher, whatever the teacher spoke, it was a gospel, and the student could not actually argue with the teacher or interrogate the teacher. Actually, that is a misconception. Ken Upanishad will tell you that it was a very open discussion with the teacher, and at times the student even challenged the conceptions of the teacher until they come to a mutual understanding, So Ken Upanishad is basically a dialogue between a student and a teacher. The student is asking a question, and the teacher is trying to do his best to reply to the question that the student has. But all Upanishads, before they start with a prayer. Some of you who are connected with the Arya Samaj are familiar with the Purna Ahuti. At the end of the Havan, we do a mantra called Om Purnamida Purnamidam Purnat Purnamidachyate. So basically, it's a prayer of talking about what God's vast resources are. God is huge, and from God's abundant resources, this universe was created, and the universe is complete, and after depleting some of God's resources, God still remains complete, So that was basically the gist of the prayer on Isha Upanishad. Kena Upanishad, the Kena Upanishad invocation is basically a prayer also, a prayer for the well-being of our Jnanendriya and Karmendriya. Now, Jnanendriya are the source through which we gain knowledge. These are our eyes, these are our ears, these are our vocal cords, this is our nose through which we breathe, and the sense of touch. So the invocation of the Kena Upanishad is really a prayer for the well-being of all our Jnanendriya, and Karmendriya are basically our limbs and our vocal cords and our mind. Basically these are the ones that we use for doing work, and we want to preserve them. We want these Jnanendriya and Karmendriya to be in good condition. So that is what the prayer is. Now let's get to the first mantra of Kena Upanishad. The student is asking his teacher, he's saying, Kena eshitam padati, preshitam manaha, kena prana praiti yuktaha, kena eshitam vacham imam badanti, chakshu shrotas kaudevo yunakti. Now, I would like to make this a little bit interactive. So, Kavita ji, if you could unmute the students, so because I may want to ask them some questions, the participants,
Everyone is eligible to unmute themselves.
Okay. So my question to you is, do you think these Jnanendriya that we have, the eyes that we have, the ears that we have, the nose that we have, the sense of smell that we have, the vocal cords that we have, or the sense of touch that we have, are they self-propelled or are they being externally driven? Now, this is the question to my audience. Anybody would like? Here, please go ahead.
I think the mind is controlling every thing that is happening, based on science. Whatever is on the right side, it's controlled by the left side of your mind, and then the left side is controlled by the right side of your mind. So whenever I'm giving the example for your eyes. So whenever you see something, you send a message to your mind, and then the mind detects what it is based on your memory of the past.
Very good, very good. Anybody else would like to add to this?
Unmute.
So here, let me extend that logic a little bit further. Now, where is the mind getting? Go ahead. Go.
I agree with Hia because it's like she said, scientifically your brain controls your full body, but I think religiously it's Ishwar who controls you. So because he's part of you, right? Right. So that's why I think it's if you say it scientifically, then it's your brain, but if you say it religiously, then it would be Ishwar. That's what Acharya Harishchandra ji said.
Very nice, very nice. I'm really impressed. Now, let's look at it scientifically. You mentioned that the brain is controlling. Now, what happens when somebody dies? Does the brain disappear? The brain is still there. The body is still there. Nothing has left the body. Physically, nothing has gone out of the body. But can that person see? Can that person hear? Right? He cannot hear. So what has happened? Yeah, go ahead. Here and
yeah, most likely Either if you look at it scientifically, either like some part of your body has stopped working, which makes your mind, one of those parts, stop sending messages to a certain part. So it made it stop working, and then without that component or organ, you won't be able to live. So like your you s- your heart stops pumping blood, then you would obviously die. So everything stops, or yeah.
Very good, very good. Now go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think this is what the last speaker yesterday she said, and Dr. Harish Chandraji also did say this, that the soul is inside of the mind is inside of the brain, and the brain is inside of the body. Correct?
Very
So
good.
your soul is, your atma is the thing that leaves your body when you die, and your soul, it's your, I think it's Manomaya Kosh. That's your third level of your body. That's what senses things such as happiness, sukh, dukh, and rag and dvesh, and it stores that, right? So because the soul is also part of it, it's like your mind and your soul is part of it. So once your soul leaves, that's why you can't see, you can't hear, you can't smell, you can't touch, you can't taste, because your soul is gone, and all those things are your five senses. Your center control is your soul and your mind, but they're gone. So that's why you can't do any of those things after you're dead.
Very nice, very nice. I'm very impressed. Very impressed. It is essentially like, this is a mic that I purchased from the store. When I got this mic, it came with the necessary hardware and software in it. But this mic was supposed to amplify my voice to you, but it's not amplifying. Why? Because it came with a cable, and the cable needs to be plugged into the power outlet. That's exactly what happens when our Atma enters the soul. It is like plugging into a power outlet, and the Atma basically tells the mind that you are in charge of these sense organs as well as the organs of action, and you're the central processing unit for the body. So now you manage the body. And at the time of death, what happens? This Atma leaves, so it is as good as disconnecting from the source of power. The hardware is there, the software is there. The only thing is you're not connected to the power outlet. So essentially, thank you very much. I was very impressed with the answers. So the student is asking, Kene Shitam Padati. He's asking, are they self-powered? You're absolutely right. These are not self-powered. These are powered externally. So externally, our Atma is bringing the power to our brain, and the brain is the one that acts as the manager of the body, and it controls the body completely. So in answer to the student's question, the Acharya says, Shrotasya Shrotam Manaso Mano Yad Vacho Vacham. So Pranasya Prana, Chakshusa Chakshu, Ritamucha Dhira, Pretyasma Loka, Damruta Bhavanti. So the Acharya is saying it is the God who's actually controlling these sense organs externally through the Atma. And he says that God we call Shotasya Shotam. We call this God the ear of the ears. Manaso Mano. We call this God the mind of the minds. He is the voice of the voices. He is the eye of the eyes. And then in the second part of this mantra, he says, Ritamuchya dhiraha pretyasma loka amrita bhavanti. He says that people Dhir Purush are people who are advanced in their meditation practices, and they realize that everything that they see, hear, smell, touch, and the voice, there's a divine component into it, because God is actually helping these sense organs function. So Dhir Purush realized that God is involved in whatever we perceive. So what they do is they make the right use of these sense organs. They don't put these sense organs into the wrong use. God has given me the eyes. I could be looking at wrong things. I could be wasting my time on the TV instead of focusing on learning something of value. God has given powering the voice. I could be cursing at someone or insulting someone, or I could be doing something more valuable. So this mantra is basically saying that because God is involved in it, regardless whether God is involved or not, we have to use these sense organs for their rightful purposes and not really abuse them. Are you in agreement with me? Okay. So what are these sense organs meant for? Go ahead.
Your sense organs are used to gather all the information from the external world so that you can make sense of them so that your body can continue to survive. Such as if you see a wild animal like outside and say for instance you're camping and you see a wild animal outside, that's the external world, and what you see and what you hear, you see and hear in a wild animal. So internally your brain tells you, oh no, it's a wild animal, run. So the external signals help you make judgments and choices because of those signals and senses.
Now, if you had a choice between doing something meaningful and meaningless, what would you focus on?
Yes, meaningful. Okay,
good. So that is the mantra says that Dhir Purush realize that these sense organs are for a higher purpose, for a more meaningful purpose, and they make better use of these sense organs. Now, Acharya continues on to answer the questions. He says the God that is actually driving your sense organs, he says he's the mind of the minds, he's the ear of the ear. And he goes on to talk a little bit more about that God. And he says, na tatra chakshur gacchati, na vag gacchati, na mano vidmo. He says that God is so far away that your eyes cannot see God, your eyes cannot perceive God, your mind cannot perceive God. Now, why do you think our mind cannot perceive God or our eyes cannot see God? Anybody? Go ahead.
I think it's because God is a supreme being and we're like normal beings. So maybe his presence cannot be imagined by the human mind. It can only, we only see God once we are dead, or what we cannot physically be there in front of God. So that's why during samadhi or during shushupti, or once we die, only then we can see God. So it's only like our soul that can see it, not our physical body.
Very good. Hia, you wanted to say something?
As people say, God is in like a whole another word looking at us as what we do. So our eyes and our eyes can't see God since he is someplace else, but still looking at us as what we do, and he senses what we do since he's part of every single person.
Very nice, very nice. basically in this mantra, the Acharya is basically saying that because our sense organs are made out of matter, they are made out of atoms and molecules, and God is other than, he is not made out of matter. So it's very difficult for us, our sense organs, to perceive God, because God is not made out of matter. God is not visible in the conventional sense, Okay. So he says, God being formless and not of any material matter cannot be known by our material senses. Our sense organs are made out of atoms and molecules, and it's difficult for it to be perceived by our sense organs. He also further goes on to say that God is different from the known visible matter and is beyond the unknown. Now, how? So if you had a choice of actually knowing God or knowing yourself, what would you choose? Because God is not visible and it's going to be difficult to know God. So one path that we have is to know ourselves. We know some parts of ourselves in the sense that we know our physical attributes. We know that I'm so many feet high. We know that we are conversant in so many languages. We know that we have brown eyes or black hair. So we know a lot of physical attributes, but there are some areas that we are not fully versed about. We don't know what was our previous life. We don't know how the soul actually came into our body. We don't know what exactly is going to happen to our soul once it actually leaves our body. But in this mantra, the Acharya is actually describing God in terms of the known and the unknown universe. Now, what is known and what is unknown in this universe? Basically, we feel that even we are part of the known and the unknown universe. So it is easier for us to actually try to know ourselves. There's a mantra in Rig Veda that says, Yatha Pinde Tatha Brahmande. So we are a replica of what exists in the universe. So if we want to know the Supreme Soul, we need to know our own soul first. So we need to spend time knowing ourselves. And once we know ourselves, and once we know our soul will have the mechanism to know the Supreme Soul, that is God. So the Acharya is also telling his student, this is the way I've been taught by my predecessors. So, and it's knowing God is very difficult. So basically, it's better to go the path of knowing yourself first, So then the Acharya, now when we talk about the known and the unknown world, we also can connect with the known and the unknown world by saying that whatever is unknown today, in course of time, we will know a little bit of that, right? Are you in agreement? Okay. So hopefully whatever is unknown now, maybe some of it is going to be known in the future, and maybe some of it will still be unknown. So basically he says, we mentioned Yatha Pinde Tatha Brahmande. So we should try to know ourselves first. And once we know ourselves, it would become easier for us to connect with the Supreme Self. Now then the Acharya says, give these mantras. He says, Yad Vacha Anabhyudatam Yena Vag Vidyate Tateva Brahmatvam Vidhi Nedam Yaditam Upasate. So he uses a set of these 5 mantras to describe who God is. He says that God is powering my vocal cords, but my vocal cords cannot describe him. He says, know that power to be God and not what you've been worshipping all along. Then he goes on to say, Yad vacha anabhyatatam yena vag vidyate tateva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yaditam upasate. So he's using all the 5 sense organs and saying that, God is powering your eyes, but your eyes cannot see that God who's actually powering your eyes. He says, know that power to be God and not what you've been worshipping all along. Now tell me what you understood by this sentence. Let me say this. We have 5 sense organs, right? And we discussed that the sense organs are being powered by God, powered by God. So God is a source of power. Although God is powering my eyes cannot still see God, right? And God is powering my ears, but my ears cannot hear God, right? God is powering my vocal cords, but my vocal cords cannot reach God, God is powering my mind, but my mind cannot perceive God. God is powering my sense of smell, but I cannot smell God. So basically, this mantra, these 5 mantras are basically saying God is a source of power that cannot be seen with the naked eye, and we should recognize that power to be God. Okay, go ahead. You wanted to say something.
Yes, I think this means that while God is powering us, we still have a minuscule amount of control over our own body. I think that's what it is.
Yeah. But you can actually worship the power, right? You realize that God is powering your eyes, your ears, and your vocal cords, and your sense of touch and your sense of smell, right? So instead of actually looking for a physical being to worship, we can worship that power, right? Are you with me? Okay. So in this mantra, go ahead. Did you want to say something? So in this mantra, the Acharya is saying that God is powering your sense organs, and know that power to be God. Although the sense organs cannot perceive God, but realize the power to be God and worship that power. Now moving on, the Acharya uses his paradoxical language and his power over the students to actually tell something else. He says, Yadi manyase suvedeti dabram mevapi nunam tvam vedati brahmano rupam yadyasya tvam yadyasya deve mimam sameva te manye viditam. So basically here the Acharya is telling the student, if you think that you know God, you really don't know God. He says, he uses the paradoxical language and he says, in case you think that you know God, then it's time for you to go back and pick up your books again and do a little bit more studying, because you don't know God. So the student is getting confused. So the student comes back and tells God, he says, Naham manya suvedeti, nona vedeti vedacha. So the student is saying that I'm not making any claim that I know God, but I think if I put my mind to it, maybe I can know a little bit about God. Do you think the student is right in making that claim? Right? So if we put our mind to it, nobody's making a claim that they know God completely. But if we put our mind to it, we all agree that we can know a little bit about God, right? If we study, if we put our minds to it, and if we meditate, we'll probably come to know a little bit about God. So the student is correct. And then the teacher goes on to say that yasya matam tasya matam matam yasya na vedasaha avigyatam vijanatam. He's basically saying that many people who have tried to know God, they have spent a lot of time trying to understand God, and in the end they basically came to the conclusion that it's very hard to know God completely. This again basically says that you can, if you spend a lot of time understanding God, if you meditate and things like that, you can come to know a little bit about God. So the student asks the teacher again, he says, does that mean that we cannot know God at all? So the teacher comes back and says, there is a way that you can actually realize God. He says, pratibodha viditam matamrutatvam hi vindate atmana vindate viryam vidyaya vindate amritam. So basically, the Acharya is saying that there is a way that that you've heard from Acharya ji, the Shushupti and Samadhi. Pratibodha viditam is basically, pratibodha is a state very similar to Samadhi, or it is another word for Samadhi. And if you get into a stage of Samadhi through meditation, through Upasana, you will get to a stage where you will come to know yourself. You will come to know your inner soul. And once you know your inner soul, it would be easier for you to connect with the Supreme Soul, that is the God. That is basically, this mantra is saying, Atmana vindate viryam, vidyaya vindate amritam. So once you use this pratibodha viditam, pratibodha is again a samadhi through meditation. If you reach a state of samadhi, you will come to know your true soul. And pratibodha is a heightened state of awareness. And in that heightened state of awareness, you will know yourself. And once you know yourself, it will form a little bridge that will connect our soul to the Supreme Soul. In the next mantra, it's saying, Cheda Vedi tata satyamastina chediha Vedi mahati vaneshnani bhuteshu vichitta dhiraha pretmasya aloka amrita bhavanti. In this mantra, the Acharya is saying again that this life that we have is a golden opportunity to realize God. We don't know if we're going to get another opportunity like this. So if we realize God in this life, it is a major, major accomplishment for us. But if we miss out on this opportunity, then it's a colossal waste of a colossal loss, because we don't know if we are going to get this opportunity again. We don't know if we're going to be born again as human beings. We don't know if even if we are born again, we will have the opportunities like this that we have now to realize God. So this mantra is bringing you, is telling you the consequences of not realizing God in this life, and what are the advantages if you realize God in this life. He says that it's a major, major accomplishment if you realize God. If you don't realize it in this life, it's a major, major calamity. Do you agree with what the Acharya is saying, right? Okay. So this is where the second chapter of Kena Upanishad ends. Kena Upanishad has 4 chapters. Basically, the first 2 chapters illustrated through the power of our sense organs of realizing God and what these sense organs are. In the next 2 chapters, what it does is it uses an allegory. Does anybody know what an allegory is? Allegory is like a story, and through the story, it is trying to illustrate a point. Whatever we learned in the first 2 chapters about our 5 sense organs, now the same thing is being illustrated using a story. Now this story will basically translate into what we've learned about our five sense organs, how are they powered and things like that. Now they say that at the time of creation, the five elements of creation, who knows the five elements in the universe? Go ahead, Ria.
The five elements are air, water, fire, earth, and ether.
Very good, very good, very impressed.
I learned it from a book.
Very good, very good, very impressed. You made my life so easy. I had to explain all these things. Thank you so much. Now, at the time of creation, what happened is these five elements, they used as the material cause of the universe. But God was the agental cause. God was the agental cause, and God was the designer of this universe. So what happened was God, using these five elements, created the universe. God designed the universe and then used these five materials and created the universe. And after the universe was created, what happened was all these five elements thought that they are the ones that created the universe and God had nothing to do with it, and nobody else was involved in the creation of the universe, and it was only the five elements that really created the universe. Now, do you agree with those five elements? Go ahead. Do you agree with the five elements, what they thought? What about you? Okay. Although the five elements were involved in the creation, but did the five elements by themselves create the universe? Okay. Who else was involved in the creation? Go ahead.
I think it was Brahma or Ishwar.
Yeah, exactly. So God was involved in it, but somehow these five elements thought that they are the ones who created the universe. They forgot about God and everything, and they became very arrogant. They said that we are the masters of the universe. God had nothing to do with it, and we are the whole and soul of this universe. So God comes to know about this arrogance. And God says, maybe I'll go there and teach them a lesson. Let me go and check them out. So God comes into the area dressed up as Yaksha. Anybody know who Yaksha is? Yaksha is a spirit. God came dressed up as a Yaksha in the area where these five elements lived. So the five elements come to know that there is some Yaksha in the neighborhood. Maybe we should go and find out. So the Agni element, the fire element, went to check Yaksha. So the fire element asked Yaksha, he says, who are you? He says, I'm Yaksha. So Yaksha asked the fire element, he says, who are you? He says, I am Agni. He says, what is your specialty? He says, I can burn this entire universe in no time. So Yaksha pulls out a blade of grass and throws it in front of Agni. He says, burn this. So Agni became very ferocious and it used all its might. But what happened? Agni could not burn that speck of grass. Why? Go ahead.
I think because it's maybe because using only one element you cannot douse out another element, because that blade of grass is also like earth, and I don't think fire can go over earth.
No. Basically, what this mantra is trying to say is, this mantra is trying to say is sometimes when you become overly arrogant about your powers and once you're in face to face with God, you end up losing a lot of your power. So they end up, God and Yaksha was really God, and God threw this speck of grass in front of him. So the fire tried its full might and wasn't able to actually burn the speck of grass. So he gave up and he runs inside and he says, maybe I should send Vayu. Vayu is the wind. So wind goes there and wind encounters the same thing. He says, he meets Yaksha and says, I can blow this entire universe in no time. So Yaksha does the same thing. He says, here's a blade of grass, try to blow it off. And again, the Vayu Devata tried his best and did not succeed. Basically, he runs into the same problem as Agni Devata and realizes that this Yaksha is some superpower. So he runs back and he goes and tells Indra. Indra was the leader of all these 5 elements, He tells Indra, he says, I don't know who that Yaksha is. Agni was not in a position to succeed in burning a speck of grass. I was not in a position to actually blow off this piece of grass that Yaksha threw at me. He says, maybe you are our leader. You should go there and find out who Yaksha really is. So Indra goes there. The moment Indra goes there, Yaksha disappears. And in his place, there's a beautiful young girl by the name of Uma. So Indra asks Uma, he says, who was that Yaksha who was just here that disappeared the moment I got here, Excuse me for a minute, Manish. Manish, yeah, can you attend to it? It's the plumber. So Indra goes there, and the moment Indra goes there, Yaksha disappears. And Yaksha disappears, and in Yaksha's place, there's a beautiful girl by the name of Uma. Uma tells, Indra asks Uma, he says, who was that Yaksha? So Uma says that was God in the shape of Yaksha, and he came to actually test you guys. He says you guys became very arrogant because of your powers in the creation, and God came to actually test you guys, and you all miserably failed in your tests. And they all realized that although they are very mighty in every respect, they cannot be more powerful than God is. And it's really with God's help that they derive all their strength, Now, can you make the connection of this story to our to what we learned earlier about our sense organs, Go ahead.
I think both of the morals of the stories, that God is the ultimate supreme power.
Very good, very good. So basically, what we realized in the first part of the Upanishad is we wanted to find out whether these sense organs are self-propelled or they are externally powered by God. We came to know that these are externally powered. Similarly, these 5 elements, although they are powerful, but without the help of God, they are nothing. Right? Are you in agreement with the statement? Okay, great. So basically, this story is conveying you the same message. So in this story, Agni, who went to meet Yaksha, Agni represents our eyes. And Vayu, that went to meet Yaksha, was our ears, is compared to our ears. And Indra, who went to meet God, is our soul. Our soul wants to actually meet with God. But for God, for us to meet God, you need divine knowledge in our intellect. Without having divine knowledge in our intellect, our soul cannot meet with the Supreme Soul. So that is the message of this Upanishad. So let me go back and summarize what we have learned in this Upanishad. Although we have these sense organs that we think that they are all very powerful, they are being powered externally. If they don't get the power from the external source, these sense organs are meaningless. They are really receptacles of information. Just our eyes are capturing information, our ears are capturing information. But if they are not powered, if they are not connected to the soul, these sense organs are meaningless, Just as we found with Agni, Agni thought it was very great, it was very powerful. Vayu thought it was very great and very powerful. But when it comes to the presence of God, it still needs help from God for it to actually demonstrate its power. So Agni and Vayu, although they are very, very powerful elements of this universe, they are nothing in front of God. So that is the message that this Upanishad was conveying. This Upanishad is basically because the focus of the Upanishad was Upasana. In the mantras we realized that the source of power that's actually powering our sense organs, we were told that through the mantras that know that power to be God and worship that power, not what you've been worshipping. We also realized that this life is a great opportunity to realize God. If we realize God in this life, it is a major, major accomplishment. If we don't realize, then it's a colossal waste of this life. So, in summary, this is what we learned in this Upanishad. And we also learned that during the ancient times, the student and the teacher had meaningful dialogue. The students were not really very submissive and taking anything that the Acharya would dish out on face value. They were discussing and at times challenging the Acharya. And basically, they had a very good relationship, not a submissive type relationship as somebody might expect that it existed millions of years ago. So, thank you very much. I think that's where my this Upanishad ends. If you have any questions, I'll be more than glad to entertain questions. So first of all, did everybody understand the Upanishad? Very good. Anybody else? Okay, thank you very much. Looks like there are no questions. So thank you very much, Kavita ji, for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you.
And it was very nice. I was very impressed with a lot of the younger students here. They're very bright and very intelligent, and I'm very impressed with their participation. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Jethinder ji. It was so nice to welcome you here again in this session. And it was really interesting, and many of our participants, especially the younger children, youngsters, they were keen to learn about all this, especially because this subject is associated somehow with their science background and everything, the 5 elements, and I was looking at their faces. And there you can go through the chat if you, the class is this class is the best yet. Okay, Ria, good. I did not get the chance to listen to the whole session. No, it is available on the Facebook. The whole session can be watched there, heard there. So the recording is already there. Thank you, Jaitara. Thank you so much for teaching us. This was such a rigorous session, and I love the unique dialogue the Upanishad teaches us. Thank you. So now every one of you had a little taste of our teachings, our heritage through Upanishads and many more. I believe, I know that many of you will be interested in further studies of these granthas, Upanishads, and many more, because it was our responsibility to make you familiar with this vast heritage. So this is good. Jithinderji says, you are most welcome. Glad that some of you are familiar with the stories. Good. So thank you, Jithinderji. Thank you very much again. Our next session is about Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and Venkatesh ji will be here soon after a short break. So we will see you all then. Take a short break, have a cup of tea. The seniors, not all the children and youths. Don't drink tea much. Tea is not a good thing to enjoy. So come back soon. We will see you. Thank you. Namaste. Dhanyavad Jithinder ji again. It was so nice. Thank you. And let me stop the recording first. Thank you, Ria. I was listening to your answers, not the questions. I want to hear some questions from you too. You are answering.
I don't have any doubts or questions
Okay.
because this class I already knew it.
Good.
Because I used to read a lot of this in books.
Questioning is not a question. Asking question does not mean that you have a doubt. When you want to know further, deeper, more and more, then you also ask questions. Okay.
Oh yes, because I knew all of what you were talking about. I knew it because I kept on reading in books a lot.
Very good. Very proud of you. You are such a wonderful, lovely lady. Isn't it? Yes.
Thank you. I would read these Amar Chitra Kathas like every day. I have a whole collection of them, but it's in India, sadly.
Oh, really? Amazing
Yes.
to know. Amazing to know. Thank you, Beta. We are very proud of you. Thanks to your parents too.
Thank you for starting this.
Very nice, very nice. See you soon. See you.
Bye.
Bye, Beta.